Welcome to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. This is the podcast where we will have real talk on what is happening in the local market of Greater Vancouver. Here we'll discuss the news, strategies, and interviews to help you man up on your real estate career. I'm your host, Cameron Manning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. I'm really excited to have you guys here listening in again today. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a special series, and this is going to be episode 1 in that series. This is the Corona Chronicles. This is where we're going to be talking to very interesting people doing different styles of investing out there. And not just investing, but we're going to be talking hopefully with some other digital influencers, talking about going online and all these things that you can get creative while you're in quarantine, still building your portfolio during the coronavirus quarantine pandemic. And today I'm really excited. I've got Jodi Vetterl here who is going to be joining me today. Now, typically we have everyone in studio, but we're going to be doing this over Zoom today. So we're excited to have you here actually sitting in my kitchen right now while we're doing this. So Jodi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you so much for having me on your show and just even thinking of me. I'm really honored, and we've only just got to know each other in the past month, right? And I've participated in a couple of things that you've held, and I just think I can just continue to learn from you and the people that you bring out to share their stuff. So it's really great.
Appreciate that. And we're really excited, obviously, because you've really taken a different path with your investing. You've definitely got started off with the traditional investing, buying rental properties and stuff. And we'll kind of get into that. But before we really dive into, where you're at right now, maybe give us a little bit of a background. Who is Jodi? What got you started out there, and what kind of gave you the push to look into some alternatives compared to the typical 9 to 5?
Yeah, great. Basically I was in the workforce. I worked, in high-tech software sales. So I worked for big, Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, from Autodesk to Avid. And then more recently, I worked with a company called Ansys, selling engineering simulation software. So across all physics, dealing with, all sorts of different engineering disciplines in BC and Alberta. Really loved my work, really loved the technology and the clients. Ended up with a boss that I didn't align with. In the meantime, I had gone and, had a baby in my mid-40s. Oh, and wow. When I came back after mat leave, I was pretty tired. I was pretty run down. And then, then it just started being, pretty tense, and, having to get the kid to daycare that doesn't open until 7:30, and being on the West Coast, as you know, we're not in the best time zone when we're dealing with the rest of Canada or other parts of the US. So conference calls at 7 a.m. and it was a lot to handle and try to recover from. And so I just kind of got to a point where I got really fed up. And like you'd mentioned, I had been doing real estate investing for a number of years. Done a lot of real estate education over the years as well. Never really had the capacity to do the fix and flip stuff, which is, I always wanted to do that. My background is in architecture and landscape architecture. That was my degree. But just, I was a road warrior, so I didn't have the space to do that. And so I really got into sort of long-term buy and holds, several places across Canada and into the US. But it was really like this moment that I had in my work of just really being exhausted and, really, really understanding what my why was, that, which is, my son, and also that I didn't want my son growing up with a mom that was running herself ragged and feeling stressed and all that. And that's where I really rolled up my sleeves and started starting to figure out where I was at and what I could do in terms of lending. So
Right. And so, as you were working, you were building that portfolio up. You were investing in real estate. You said across Canada and the US. So you were getting a good portfolio built up. What was that turning point for you that said, okay, you know what? I am done doing the working. I'm now officially going to move into that entrepreneurship realm, work for myself, control my time. What was that breaking point for you, or what allowed you to be able to do that?
Well, it really came down to, it's so ironic because again, I had this manager that I didn't, align with his values, and I was working from home. I always have kind of worked from home in my career, and closed a deal with him on the phone, and my kid was sick with a daycare doozies. Woke up, made some noise, and he basically wrote me up for that. And the irony of it.
Seriously.
Yeah, and I closed the deal. I'm like, are you serious? And the irony is that here we are, all working from home with our kids in the other room.
Right? No kidding, especially right now. I mean, it's a norm now for most people who have to work from home and who still who are lucky enough to still be working right now.
Exactly. And, to really take a look at, okay, when you're handed lemons, you make lemonade, that kind of, changing perspective. And of course, I was really, really angry and frustrated, but it provoked me to sit down and get that Excel spreadsheet out and really have a financial reality check with myself. And once I really took a look at where my assets were against my liabilities, I found this, let's call it hidden money, essentially, some underperforming assets, some locked up things, in terms of, locked up in property equity, that kind of thing. And I'd already been dabbling in private lending for a few years. And what I did is took the time to really plot it all out, figure out what my financial goals are, what would it take what do I need, and what do I want to set the goals at in terms of what I want to earn on a monthly basis in order for me to leave that, that cushy job, that multiple six-figure plus job. I was paid very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really plotted that out, figured it out. I had these amazing active investors who I still work with till this day. And I called them up and I said, listen, I think I could maybe unlock this and this and this. This is what I'm trying to achieve. This is what I'm trying to do. Do you think that we could work together and that I could actually achieve this? So we created a win-win and we worked together, and boom, lo and behold, I overachieved on what my goals were, and basically realized that I had found that financial independence that I was looking for. And, I think, for me, financial independence for me is something different than retirement, because I was only 46. And so
Right.
I was like, this can really create the space in my life, take down the stress, and I can have those beautiful moments with my son, have those family moments, and I can also create something from this. And that's where, I ended up writing the book Beyond the Banks, talking about these success strategies in real estate as a private lender and being able to go out and share that with others.
Absolutely. So let's kind of go back now. How did you discover the private lending aspect? So I know you said you were kind of going through and figuring out, and you've done a little bit of private lending, but what was that first deal that you did your first private loan on that you were like, wait a second, there's something here?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the funny thing about it is I took some real estate education back in, gosh, I think it was like 03 or 04 out of Hamilton, Ontario. I don't know if they're still around doing the education, but at the time they were teaching about private lending and how, this is the way the banks make money and we can do this as well. And I just wasn't really like trusting of it. And I thought, no, I would rather have my own properties. Right. And so,
Which is, I think, what most
it.
people think, right?
Yeah.
Everyone always thinks of something tangible to hold on to, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so I did that, and I'm glad that I did it. But I also have a slew of, tenant stories.
Oh yeah. I think most who've been in it long enough and have a decent sized portfolio definitely do.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got the war wounds for sure. And so as now that I'm, as I'm older now, I've really kind of streamlined, narrowed down my long-term buy and holds significantly. And then, to answer your question is I was also involved in Fortune Builders, which is a real estate investment, one of those education things, high ticket,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
out of the US, and they were kind of dabbling in Canada. And anyways, I ended up doing my immersion through Washington State. They had an excellent group of people that were, at the time, Washington State was kind of like, Saskatoon. It was, you could buy houses for 125,000, 150,000, throw $40,000 at it, sell it for, 240,
Right.
230, and then it just like climbed back up.
Yeah.
And so there were some people that I met, and I had refinanced some of my houses down in Phoenix, and thought, well, maybe I'll buy another house. And then the money just sort of sat there. I didn't have time. I was on the road. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So it was just kind of sitting there in this account, and an email from that group of people in the Washington State went out where someone was looking for, 50 grand. I was like, well, I have 50 grand just sitting there. And it was like 12% plus a point, and, on a 3-month loan. And I thought, well, heck, this might be kind of interesting to try.
Yep.
And so I tried it. I went in, and, I think it closed in a month and 11 days, and I made $2,000 US, which was pretty nice. Like it was it was an eye opener.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's short-term deal, and the return that you got, not bad.
Yeah, it was so easy, and they basically, I had the deed of trust in my hand. The deed of trust, they call, it's like your title.
Right.
It was really straightforward. And so I did another couple of deals, smaller deals like that, with them, taking second position, or even one case third position, just, but smaller amounts, right? Just
right.
Rehab money mostly, because they were down there. They were mostly like using hard money lenders that would do like 75% loan to value. And then they would have to kind of come up with the other 25% plus rehab. And so I was kind of like that second position.
Got it.
Person. Anyways, I went down to the Fortune Builders conference in Las Vegas, which is called Ignite. There's about 4,000 people.
Wow.
It's mostly Americans. All the Canadians kind of find themselves. 20 or 30
get their little group together there.
Yeah, exactly. And I met, these couple of superstars out of Saskatoon called Epic Alliance, and we started hitting it off. I was really intrigued. There are two women that are electricians by trade, and they had all this passion and just drive, and I could see they really invested in themselves, because they did Fortune Builders, but they also did that Rich Dad program.
Yep.
As well. So I could tell that they were, no one spends that kind of money to like be not
to just sit there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just really liked their synergy, their energy, their passion, what they were doing. And I became their second investor, and now they're up over 400 houses.
Wow. They're
rolling into the States in the next 4 weeks. And really working with them has been fantastic. And from there, so that's where I've really gone in more heavy, and, also dealing with some multifamily syndication, things like that, and land development and whatnot. But for the most part, they're on fire, and I work very closely with them, and I, try to help people get their finances and their financial foundation in place, so that they can, be working with these stellar active investors. And I have a few people like that I work with, but they're one of them.
That's awesome. Now, so you started building this side of where you were doing the loans and, lending it out, small bits here, small bits there, larger deals. And as you kind of got into this, you really, it seems, discovered a niche for yourself. Because, and what I like about what you talked about when I first saw you there is talking about learning what the banks actually do to make money, and basically copying it in a way, doing what they do, right? I mean, the banks aren't dumb. They make a lot of money. So can you maybe take us through the process of what you learned in regards to private lending and what the banks do, and how you can kind of recreate that system to earn that interest as well, like the banks do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, really, like, a lot of people are starting to hear a lot more about private money. It's becoming very mainstream because a lot of mortgage brokers now, with all the tightening of the regulations,
They're
people are
turning to a
having.
lot of private lenders and.
Exactly. But it's a little bit, so there is that. There's that B lending, which is usually private lender, and you can be that B lender for people and work through a mortgage broker. And you can also work directly with people that are cash buying houses for, renovation and all that kind of stuff. And really what it is the banks. The banks are some of the wealthiest companies, right? I mean, in Canada, you look at, who are the wealthiest companies, corporations in Canada, and the top 4 are banks. In the States, it's a little bit different because they got Amazon and
they've got a few of the bigger dogs, but
yeah, exactly. So, but they're up there in the top 10, for sure. And really, what it is the banks make money from a few different ways, but one of the main ways that they make money is net margin interest. And so they basically, you put your money into a savings account, and they pay you a small interest rate for, having it in a savings account, and then they leverage that money out and they loan it back to you in the form of mortgages, car loans, credit cards, all that kind of stuff. And they charge a higher percentage, and then they capture the spread, and that's what they profit off of. Now, the other thing about that, what the banks do is that when we get a mortgage, the bank is on title. They're on, usually first position on title of the property. Therefore, if you stop making your payments, they send you a demand letter. They start to send you, threats, and we're going to foreclose, and they start the pre-foreclosure process, and then ultimately can actually foreclose on your house and just take your house from you. And with being a private lender, so we're really working with people who are those active investors. So when I say active investors, as you know, Cam, it's like people that are going out there and finding those distressed properties that are about to be foreclosed on by the bank.
Writing offers, getting things under contract.
Exactly. And they're using other people's money. We call it OPM, in that world. And they're using other people's money to be cash buyers, putting them on title, providing them usually with a pretty healthy
interest rate
rate, double digit. And so I am the OPM of that active investor. And so I'm loaning out to that house. I'm on title, making double digit returns, and I'm secured on the title. Therefore, if something went sideways with that project or with that house or with that active investor, I have the same rights as the bank. So I can, send a demand letter and then start the foreclosure if payment isn't met and contracts are broken. And so, at the end of the day, here we are, I lived through, like many of us, the 2008 crash and the stress around that. And I said, never again. And here we are in even a worse off situation. The markets are,
tanked, and
exactly.
People are stuck at home. It's different because at least in 2008, 2009, there was still chance for people to go out and work. Versus now, a lot of people can't. They're really just stuck.
Yeah, it's really bad out there, and and the thing is, when you're secured on the title of a property, there's a lot more creative things that you can do to preserve that capital. Because you've got your, especially if you're talking about houses and projects that are, a smaller amount, you could put a conventional on, or you could turn around and sell. There's just a lot of more creative things that you can do than if you're in the stock market right now.
No.
I would not want to be in the stock market right now.
Oh God, no. No, I mean, you talk to any of my clients they have anything in the stock market and they're crying right now. It's like, luckily most of my clients are diversified. They've got properties, they've got real estate holdings, they've got rentals, but at the same time, those that did have stuff in the stocks, they just looked at everything plummet, right?
Yeah. And it's really tough. And it's a really tough time. And what I love about who I'm working with, because, obviously real estate is going to be affected by this, but I really take a look at the active investors that I'm working with, the markets that they're in, what their strategies are within those markets, and are they, in, a positive situation
Right.
for this chaos that we're dealing with now. And yes, they are. And they're also very solution driven people. They are
Mhm.
go-getters. They are like, challenge accepted, there's no problems, challenge accepted, let's go for this. And they're just working around whatever is being thrown at them, they're finding solutions for. And
Perfect.
those are the people that you want to be aligned with. Those are the people that you want to be, working closely with. And Cam, I consider you one of those people, because I jumped on your happy hour with my
Yep.
glass of wine last week. And I just learned so much, and I love, the stuff that Kelly was saying, the stuff that the mortgage broker was saying, the stuff you were saying, and just your whole community was so fabulous. Like, everybody's just trying to figure this out, but everybody's still moving forward. And
Yeah.
that's so
I mean,
important.
we're all in the same boat, but if we stop moving forward, if we stop trying things, that's when we're gonna hurt, right? If we're at least getting out there and making the adjustments necessary, we'll be able to weather the storm. And that's truly what it is. It's weathering the storm. And I know Kelly and I, we have this conversation a lot together, um, looking at Vancouver, because and I don't have a crystal ball, right? I don't know what's going to happen 2 months from now, 6 months from now in terms of our real estate. And I definitely think it's going to be impacted for sure. But Kelly and I both come from different markets. She's from Montreal, I'm from Edmonton, and both of us have come from markets that have had growth, but then they have long down periods. Like we look at Alberta right now, they've been down for 5 years, even before this. Like I've got property still in Alberta, and it's been a slug, right, just to get things moving out there. Whereas in the lower mainland here, it's one of those things that in the long run, Vancouver always does well, but you need to get creative and come up with those ways to get through this hump and know that you'll be better on the other side, right? Making sure that you're taking advantage of mortgage deferrals if you're scared about tenants not paying rents and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely, you got to have the right people backing you and keeping you
Mhm.
motivated. If you just sit and let things happen, then that's when you're gonna be hurting in the market right now. So
Yeah, definitely. And I sat on a fabulous talk with the Western Wealth Capital, Julian Booker. She works with, obviously works with Janet LePage.
yep.
And the stuff that they did in about 10 days was extraordinary. And, they're really taking the time to work closely with the tenants,
Yes.
say, okay, what do you need, and making sure that they're understanding all the programs, and getting rents online, getting, just doing all the things that they basically, okay, what is challenge number one? Okay, let's fix it. Boom, do whatever. And what's challenge two? What's challenge three? And
Yeah.
just making sure, and then monitoring it. And they're very, I think they use the term cautiously optimistic.
Right.
Um, but I loved jumping on that and inviting them into my community to talk as well, because I invest with those people. Like, I have money in those people, with those people. I have, money with these different investors. And I want to make sure that, like, I want to say, like, that's what I wanted to hear. Like, what are you doing to make sure that my money is okay? I mean, I want to, really, that's, is everything going to be okay? Tell me.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so just to hear them, and just to like really, as soon as you start to click in with their mindset, and it's like, okay, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You think of one of the things that they do is they buy a lot of these places off of, like, doctors and dentists, and and they're working full time, and they were already, maybe not the best managed buildings. And
Yep.
then
Yep.
like, what is going to be really interesting, watching what happens on the other side of this, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that you hit the nail on the head. It's going to be interesting to see what's on the other side of this for everyone, right? In all
Yeah,
categories, for sure.
yeah.
Just wanted to circle back now. You have written a book now on Beyond the Banks. So you're actually now taking this and coaching people as well, not just being a lender yourself, but you're teaching people how to do this now. You've kind of found that passion to help other people, just like we do our seminars, and we got our one coming up tonight, trying to give back. this is one of your ways that you've been giving back is through coaching and through your book. So tell us a little bit about the book. What inspired you to write the book Beyond the Bank?
Yeah, definitely. Here's the book. So yeah, here's the book. Kind of my first photo shoot. Don't love the picture, but it was the time.
We all have those photos.
I know.
Realtors are the worst for them.
Oh, time to redo a new cover.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, when I went through that whole exercise of figuring out my financial reality and found my hidden money and did that whole thing, I was sort of carving the path, right? Like no one was showing me how to do it. I was really carving the path for myself. And then a lot of people around me, just friends, family, people I came across, they were like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? And I was, taking the time to really share a lot of stuff with these people. And I was just finding that for the most part, they weren't really following through. And then I was like, well, why aren't they following through? And I'm kind of a person who, I'm a very persistent person. Like when I set a goal, I get kind of obsessed. I persevere through things, and
right.
Especially when I see it very clearly. And I realized that these people weren't necessarily, they wanted to have it. It sounded like a really good idea, but they would hit these roadblocks, and then it would just kind of shut them down. Life would, roll over them, and they'd be like, oh, I really got to get back to that. And then, they just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So
Life happens for sure.
Exactly. So it's kind of sad for me, because here I was like doing well, making these returns, finding my financial independence. And I want that for other people. And so it prompted me to write the book. And then after I wrote the book, I guess during the process of writing the book and getting published, I realized that I also had a coaching program in me, and that I could also really help people by coaching them. And so
taking them by the hand and getting them through step by step, right?
Yeah, because I was, when I, when I went down and started investing in the US back in sort of 2010, 2011, I had the very, very privilege of being mentored through that process by Janet LePage. And what I loved about the way that she mentored me was that she'd be like, okay, Jodi, do these 3 things, come back, and I'll give you the next 3 things. I'm not going to give you everything, because I don't want to overwhelm you. You'll get shut down, you'll hit a roadblock, and that'll be it. And so,
you hit that analysis paralysis when you're just given too much stuff all at once.
Exactly. And because I did it that way, I was actually able to, be successful, buy those homes from her and get set up. And then I've never looked back.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I kind of was inspired by that idea of building a coaching program that would be like, release a module once per week, so you get full value out of the module, really be able to do what you need to do during that week. So it's chunked out. Tony Robbins, he talks about that chunking all the time. And so it's chunked out, and it's all manageable, and it's simplified. And so by the time that you're in the program, by the end of it, you've got your mindset right, you've got your financial reality check right, you've got your, you know how to fund, you've met some active investors, you understand their strategies, you know how to do deal analysis and due diligence. It's kind of the complete package. And it's so funny, because there's so many people in my program that by week 2, week 3, they've already gotten into a couple of deals.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like $2,500 a month or $3,000 a month, or they're set up to make, $60,000 that year.
Wow.
And it's fantastic, because what I really love is you're not kind of gambling in the stock market. You're going in, you're going, all right, I'm going to put this chunk of money in, I'm going to make this percentage over this period of time, so I know exactly, and I can have a conversation with my accountant. I know it's
very calculated.
Yeah, solid exit strategies with the people that I work with, and it all makes sense. And, I'm not brokering anything for anybody. It's just like, here's the education. here's some case studies and some business models. You go out and you connect with them, but
Yeah.
you're going to be all ready to go. You're going to be ready for the mortgage broker. You're going to be ready for the CAM, everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically my goal, is to help people, especially during this time. Like my
Oh,
ex-husband,
totally.
he lost his job, like all his work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sports broadcasts and stuff. And we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're fine. We have that financial foundation because of the loans. We're okay.
Right. Now, trying to keep things moving along here, and obviously respecting everyone's time, because I know we've got another event we got to run here soon. Being that we're in this COVID-19 pandemic, and again, we kind of alluded to it at the very beginning, that I think this is a great creative strategy for people to start looking at, that they can do from home. They can start preparing, get a copy of your book. They could, find you online, start doing that training program. What would you say are some key takeaways that people should think about during this pandemic, that if they're going to get into, whether it's investing in general or just or looking into the private lending, what are some advice or tips or tricks that you would say to somebody to keep them motivated moving forward if they're listening today?
Well, really, it really comes down to taking a look at what you have access to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such an exercise. And, that is a tip that I have for everyone, including myself, because it's been a while since I've actually done my financial reality check, and I have to sit down and, really do my numbers and just, see what you have access to. I mean, start there. And once you know what you have access to and you see where things maybe underperforming or locked up that you may have access, you may be sitting on a gold mine that you're not aware of. Now, the next thing is you want to make sure that you are really understanding how to analyze those numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
How to interpret the numbers that are coming to you, or the deal. That's basically the deal analysis, and making sure you're doing the due diligence, and then getting that, being secured on title so that you can sleep at night.
Yeah.
And, really understanding what the exit strategies are as well. I mean, that's key. And I think once you sort of figure that out, then, you get yourself into some opportunities, and every day that goes by that you're not invested, you're not making money.
Yeah.
So, there is that call to action, if I may, because it's like, why, you don't get that time back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a month goes by and you're still not, doing anything, then
Still
you've
sitting
lost
on the
a
couch
month, and that could be
binging the next movie.
$2,500,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So multiple streams of income, and this is a great stream of income. It can be, in some cases, it can end up a whole nother salary for people. It's really extraordinary. It changed my life. I mean, it changed my life. Like I walked away from a big cushy job where I was working from home, I had a small territory, and I was making multiple six-figure income.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked away from that because of this. And so it's life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. No, I really appreciate those tips. Now, something that's been recurring on our podcast here is a book recommendation. Now, obviously, we talked about Beyond the Banks, so I'll make the plug there. Guys, make sure you guys go check out Beyond the Banks, get that book, and take a hard look at this opportunity of private lending as an additional income source, as she mentioned, as an additional investment strategy, and learning a new skill during this time where if you're stuck at home, maximize your time and learn something new. But I always like to throw it out there. What is one book that has impacted you, or you're recently reading, or whatever, that you feel that somebody who's sitting at home right now should either pick up on Amazon, get it delivered, listen to it on Audible, whatever the case might be? What would that book be for you?
It's a bit of an oldie, but I am a big fan of the Smith maneuver.
Yep.
This is a pure Canadian strategy that was developed and tested and challenged with CRA by Fraser Smith, I think back in 97 or something, or 96, or
Mm-hmm.
anyways, and then his son sort of has kept it going. And it's a fabulous book, because once you understand the Smith maneuver, that is going to open up your mind in a lot of different ways. And there's some just really great, it's not just there's just some fabulous tax strategies in there, and gets you thinking a little bit differently about, like, where if you say need to buy a vehicle and you've been saving for a business loan, and you have the money for the business, and then the vehicle, and how to really kind of making sure that you're using it the right way so you can maximize your tax strategy. It's a
Right.
brilliant book. I highly recommend it.
Excellent. So that's the Smith Maneuver, guys. So go take a look at it on Amazon. I'm a big fan right now of just listening to books, Audible. Luckily, as a realtor, we're still an essential service, so I am still on the road a fair bit. So maximizing my time on the road, I throw on an Audible book, and now's the time to keep learning. Right, take advantage, because you may not be as busy as you were before. Jodi, I do really appreciate having you on here for our first episode here in the Corona Chronicles. We're definitely, as I mentioned, in some crazy new times here. And having people such as yourself who come in looking at a new perspective, one that's maybe not as popular out there, or is not as well known, I should say, not necessarily popular, really helps to maybe give more value to those people out listening to the podcast, who are out at home, really giving them that opportunity that there's still ways to make money even in the current economy that we're in, and knowing that this too shall pass, and you're going to set yourself up in the long term a lot stronger than if you're just sitting at home waiting for your government $2,000 check to come in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate you being on here. I know we're going to be chatting again here within another hour or so here. So I'm really excited to invite you on to be our keynote speaker for the Investors Performance Group. If you guys are listening to this and you guys are interested in joining us for the Investors Performance Group, during this COVID crisis, we are doing it online. So just make sure you guys send me an email or shoot me a DM on any of my social medias. I'll get you guys that link. You can listen in across Canada, and we've made it free now during this crisis. Typically, we do charge a door fee because it's normally live in person, but we're really trying to make sure we get that education out there. So feel free, guys, if you want to join in on our next Investors Performance Group meeting, hit me up. Jodi, I just want to make sure that people have a chance to connect with you as well. What's the best way that they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to jodivetterl.com, JODIVETTERL.com. You can also email me at jodi@jodivetterl.com. You can book a call with me. If you book a consult with me, I do send you a digital copy of my book, and we can talk about, what your situation is, what your goals are, and see if there's a fit. If they're interested in learning how to become a successful and profitable private lender, I am here and available.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jodi. And don't forget, if you want to interact with this podcast as well online on social media, you can hit me up on Twitter at Cameron E. Manning, using the hashtag as well, hashtag ManningUpRE, as well as on Instagram, Cam E. Manning, using that hashtag again, ManningUpRE. Don't forget, if you want more content, you can also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Cameron Manning. And our goal is to provide you as much content as we can during this COVID crisis. Thanks again, Jodi. I really appreciate it. That wraps us up here for today, and we have to now go get ready for another event. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cam. It was enjoyable. Take care.
Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. What you gonna do?